And welcome to the Huddle, brought to you by Desert Diamond Casino. I'm Jason Barr, along with Pat Parris, and our special guest this week, former University of Arizona linebacker and Chicago Bears linebacker Lance Briggs. First, though, the Huddle, welcome. It's a new weekly sports talk show that invites you to join the conversation. You can watch every Thursday at 3, which means right now, or on the K-Gun 9 Facebook and Twitter pages. Weigh in with comments and ask questions, or just simply watch the show live or on demand on the K-Gun app or on Roku, Fire TV, or your favorite streaming service. Again, I'm Jason Barr with Pat Parris and Lance Briggs. And Lance, let's jump right on into it. We're talking Arizona football. Lance is in town because he's going to broadcast the game, part of the Pac-12 network, as the U of A plays NAU this week. The Wildcats 0-2, 14-game losing streak. Lance, I think that even though the Wildcats lost in week 1 against BYU, it looked promising. There was a big stretch of that game where they did play well. But then last week against San Diego State, they did not look good, and just the game went wrong right from the beginning. Which Wildcat team is the real team, and how disappointed were you that they didn't look the way they did in week 1 when they played last week against San Diego State?
Well, they set themselves behind in both games. Their opponents, whether it be BYU or San Diego State, they get up, 2-3 touchdowns, and you find yourself having to play behind. And when you have to play behind, it really limits some of the things that you want to do offensively and defensively. It opens the doors for your opponent. So I think the theme for this week for Arizona is to start fast. And if you start fast, who knows what kind of results you can get each week if the Cats aren't having to play from behind all game.
Lance, I know you'll call the game for the Pac-12 network on Saturday night. You'll stay impartial as you can. But how much have you been able to follow Arizona and exactly? I guess my question is from the pride factor angle. How invested are you in this team and this rebuilding process with Jedd Fisch?
Well, I've been able to follow the progress of this current team, every step of the way, and that's been because Jedd Fisch has had open access to alums and Arizona faithful from the moment that he arrived. So it's been a nice change, a pleasant change from the past. And I mean, each Tuesday there's an alumni meeting with Jedd Fisch. So we're always updated on what's going on with Arizona football, and that's something that wasn't present before he arrived here.
Lance, Will Plummer is going to start this week at quarterback after Gunnar Cruz started the first couple of games. And today at Jedd Fisch's news conference, he said that he plans to play Will the entire game. That's what he hopes to do. That's what he said. Are you surprised he's kind of had a little bit of a quick hook here? Not just actually with the quarterback, with Gunnar Cruz, but also the kicker, with Lucas Havrasek. He misses 2 kicks in week 1, and all of a sudden we've got a freshman out there kicking. Does Coach Fisch need to be a little bit more patient, or are these the moves that he should be making?
I think this is an evaluation period. So you're trying to figure out what pieces are going to fit the best. Now you take that first game, you missed 2 field goals. You're talking about a 6-point swing, and depending on how you approach the extra points, you have a tied game or possibly a 1-point lead against BYU. Every point counts. And in that first game, Arizona puts up 45 yards of offense, but it doesn't equate to points. So, we have to put all our value into every point, and every point counts. So I think him putting Will Plummer in at quarterback for the whole game is to evaluate what you can do whether it's up, whether it's down, whether you have momentum, whether you're backed up against the end zone, against our own end zone. What kind of quarterback are we going to get out of you? You get the whole plate.
But Lance, how fair is that? Because you're going to evaluate Will Plummer here against NAU, which is so much more inferior than the first 2 opponents that they played. If Will Plummer goes out and plays a good game, does it really tell you that much about where he is if you're going up against a much smaller team that's been blown out in its first 2 games?
You can't look at it that way. You have to look at it as an opportunity to get better. To get better. This is a team sport, so whether it be against San Diego State, whether it be against BYU or whomever the Cats have next, everything is an evaluation period. So, next week the Cats, I believe they go to Oregon. If Will Plummer plays well this week, he's going to go into Oregon. And he's going to probably get another opportunity. So the fallout, the drop off is not going to take a lot longer, very long before we know if he can play against the big boys or not.
Lance Briggs is our guest here on the Huddle as we're streaming live, and we appreciate his time. Of course, the standout linebacker for the Wildcats and a 7-time All-Pro for the Chicago Bears. Lance, from the defensive side of the football, you've got Don Brown now as your defensive coordinator. Of course, his resume is really impressive. I think Wildcat fans, even though the team didn't play very well defensively last week, understand that Don Brown is the guy to get this turned around. How impressed are you with him, with what he did at Michigan and what he can do with maybe not the talent that he'll have in a year or two right now?
Listen, I was in the NFL. I was birthed into the single gap system. Don Brown runs the single gap system, so there's nothing that I know more than the single gap system. And the thing about and listen, I'm excited about Don Brown and what he's bringing to the table. These guys that are coming into U of A are lucky to have him. And looking at this San Diego State game, 16 missed tackles, but guys were in place to make plays and didn't make them. Poor angles, poor tackling, arm tackling, leaving their feet. These are things that you can correct within yourselves. But the main thing are guys were in place to make plays. And when they break that tape down and they look at all the missed opportunities, they'll find out that, look, this game could have been a lot different, could have gone a lot different. We can't worry about what's going on in the offense. You can't worry about what's going on special teams, but you can handle what happens in that defensive room.
Lance, this team is on a 14-game losing streak. That's not fun. Jed Fish was asked today, hey, if the Wildcats won, do you think that they would? Do you think that fans would storm the field? And he said, I'm not for that, but what I am for is a win. And these guys have been with this program, 3 different head coaches, 6 or 7 different position coaches. And they should feel good about something. They deserve to have a win, if they play well enough. What's it like to be on that type of a losing streak and to play with, 3 different coaches, 6 or 7 position coaches, and be where they are now? What do you think the mindset is of some of those players who are, putting up a good face and really being really positive about where the program is?
Well, one of the things that you have to get out of your mind is the kind of the continuity of oh, here we go again, and the Wildcats get down by 3 touchdowns. We've seen this before. Now that fight that they put in to come back in these games, that's the fight. That's the mentality that you have to maintain. That's where you say, okay, no matter what no matter how many times, how many scores we're back, it takes one drive to score points and draw ourselves closer. One drive, one defensive stand, get off, take the ball away, we score, a special teams play, and we're back in this game. So the culture has to change, but you have to get over the hump of saying, oh, here we go again.
Lance, we got a few questions coming in. I'm going to grab one here from Facebook, and it's from Billy Kang. He says, the Pac-12 seems to finally be relevant again with Oregon getting a huge win against Ohio State. And he wants to know where the Wildcats fit in the future of the Pac-12. I'll start, though, with Oregon. I've heard that called the best win by a Pac-12 team since they became the Pac-12.
I don't know about that, but it certainly was a big win. UCLA had another big win against LSU, and shoot, I was hoping Colorado could hold on against Texas A&M. It does signify, that the Pac-12 will not be pushovers this year, and so I hope continued success with all of those programs outside of playing U of A, but definitely rooting for the Pac-12 non-conference and into the college playoff.
Do we have a second question or no, Pat? Was there a second one?
We do have one from Brooke Long.
Okay.
It says, do you think Coach Fish's choice to start Will Plummer is going to have a big impact on the game? And I guess in the game, we talked a little bit about it, but, I'm going to reverse that on her question. What does this do for Gunnar Cruz now? What is Gunnar Cruz's role? Here's a guy who was tabbed as the starter the first 2 games, and all of a sudden he takes a back seat. Where does that go, Lance?
Well, you know what? It shouldn't go far. You know, for him mentally, you know, there were some decisions and things that happened from a read standpoint, holding the ball too long, you know, and errant throws that have put him here. You have a prime opportunity. You know, regardless of who you're playing with, you're playing against a top SEC team or you're playing against, you know, an FCS team. It's still an opportunity. And if you believe that you're the guy to go in there and do it, you got to go in there and you have to perform. Had Gunnar Cruz performed up to the level the coaches would have expected, he'd still be starting right now. And that's kind of the fact of it. And now it's Will Plummer's time, and it's a great opportunity for Will. Will got to go out there and he has to show the coaches, listen, give me another chance next week. That's what you guys go out and prove this weekend.
Lance, you're doing the game on Saturday. We have seen some upsets this year. Certainly, the Jacksonville State one, comes to mind against Florida State and Montana over Washington, I believe. But I don't believe that NAU is as good as Jacksonville State or Montana. You're obviously looking at the game video as you prepare for the broadcast. Do you see anything out of NAU that could give the Wildcats trouble on Saturday? And if so, what?
Shoot, they have a primetime wide receiver in Stacy, and I don't want to ruin his last name, guys. I want to butcher his last name, but he's a stud, and he makes a lot of plays. They try to get the ball to him any way, shape, or form, and they have a young quarterback that's filling in for an older guy as well, and he's performing a lot better. So, where I don't think you this might be an FCS team. I don't think you take any team lightly. And for the Cats to break this 14-game win streak, I think that you have to approach this game like it's the Pac-12 championship.
They need a win desperately. I think you'll take it any way you can get it, whether it's a dogfight or it's a blowout. This team really needs a win. Yeah, and as an alum, I'm sure that's the way you feel too. You've got to turn that corner, and the corner starts with ending this losing streak.
One game at a time, man. You know, you never know what's going to happen next week. But if you can secure a win today or on Saturday, then at least you have one to look back on.
All right, Lance, for anybody who can't make it out to Arizona Stadium, I know Jed Fish wants a packed house, but they'll get to hear you broadcast the game on Saturday at 7 o'clock against NAU. So thank you so much for taking a few minutes here on the Huddle, brought to you by Desert Diamond Casino. And we really appreciate it. And we'll be watching your take on Saturday night.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on the Huddle, guys.
Yeah.
All
Thanks
right.
so much.
Thanks, Lance.
Yeah.
Have a good broadcast. Thanks.
Yeah, Pat, some good insights there. And, I was kind of surprised to hear Jed Fish today say that he was giving Jordan McLeod a lot of the number 2 reps in practice, not because he's trying to demote Gunnar Cruz from his performance, but he said, it's just tough to get 3 quarterbacks ready. But like you said before, that's not going to be great for Gunnar Cruz. And I know you want Fish to pick a quarterback before too long and just go with him.
Well, and get back, it's been brought up before. I'll bring it up again. John Madden's famous for saying it. When you have 2 quarterbacks, you have no quarterbacks. And there's a lot of reasons. There's a lot of layers to that simple sentence. And in the first 2 weeks, I was saying, well, I don't like 2 quarterbacks because one of them is splitting time with another. So if you've got a 1 and a 1A, the 1 isn't going to get 100% of the snaps with the first team. He's got to split those. Is it 65-35? Is it 55-45? Whatever it is, they're splitting. So I don't like 2 quarterbacks in that sense. But now you're going to pick a quarterback and you're going to go with Will Plummer. Gunnar Cruz didn't look great against San Diego State last week.
But the offensive line wasn't giving him time to protect.
Exactly. There was
and now here you're going to have Will Plummer come in, and he's going to go up against an inferior NAU. He's going to look great.
Perfect. Your point's perfect.
He's going to look great.
So then
that doesn't tell me.
What do you do against Oregon? Now you're going to say, well, Will looks so good against NAU. We're going to start. Well, what if he fails? Now you got to go back to Gunnar Cruz. It's a hot mess, Jason. And it never gets rectified until you pick one quarterback and you never let him have to worry and look over his shoulder. Is my number 2 or is my backup warming up right now? Maybe that's one of the reasons why he's saying that Gunnar Cruz is basically relegated to the number 3 job this week, so that Will Plummer doesn't look over his shoulder and see if Gunnar Cruz is warming up this week. But at some point, you got to go with one guy.
Yeah, to me, I think the Lumberjacks aren't going to be that competitive. They're a 23-point underdog. I think a lot of quarterbacks can look good against NAU. Will Plummer's going to look good. Then he's going to go to Oregon the next week. That's not going to be pretty. They're not ready to play a team like Oregon. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, Oregon just went in and beat Ohio State. U of A, he's getting blown out by San Diego State at home. It's not going to. If the Wildcats win the game, I think I would against NAU, which they should. What I'm going to say is, thank goodness, great, this losing streak is over. We don't have to talk about 14 in a row anymore. But at the same time, while a win is a win, it's against an FCS team that's really struggling, and it doesn't really tell me that much about a player doing that against NAU than what they would have done against San Diego State or BYU or, of course, a Pac-12 team. So that's why I'm not going to read that much into a great game by somebody against NAU. I just looked at some of the video, and we just showed it, of them playing NAU in 2019. You could drive a truck through some of these holes on the offensive line.
It was 60 points or more.
They score 60 every game against NAU.
Against NAU, right? So does it really tell you anything? And this is what gets back to, we're going to find out what kind of head coach Jedd Fisch is going to be, not with these first two losses, and certainly not with this NAU game, but going forward, we're going to find out how he handles this quarterback situation, how he handles the kicker situation. Those are, you kind of open yourself up when you make changes like that. You open yourself up, and we'll find out if he's able to rectify this.
Bottom line, what I'm saying to Arizona fans is you got to reset your expectations. Yeah. Just because they look good for a stretch against BYU, evidently they're a lot further away than we thought. And listen,
if we thought about that back in the summer, though, Jason, before we even started, I think we all thought a couple of wins is all they're going to get. But I think you're right. BYU's that little stretch there made us all reevaluate what we thought. And
we thought, hey, maybe
we should back it on up a little bit.
Yeah, back and just think, look, I'm not going to compare Jedd Fisch to Adia Barnes, okay? But her first 2 years weren't pretty. We just weren't paying attention, right? Okay, everybody's paying attention to the football team, but these first couple of years aren't going to be pretty. And he's got to have a couple of years he's going to need to build this team. That's why I was just saying going into the BYU game, hey, just pass the eye test, right? Yeah. And they did against BYU. After the sluggish start, they looked good. They didn't pass the eye test against San Diego State. Yeah. That was bad. And Fisch today, I didn't like what he said when he said, oh, well, after it was 21-0, it was only 17-14 after that. Listen, it doesn't work that way.
It doesn't work that way.
Their backups are in the game by the end of the game. I no way you're saying it's 17-14 after it was 21-0.
Yeah,
it doesn't work that way.
They won the second half 7-3.
No,
it doesn't work that way. It doesn't work that way.
That was bad.
Let's check a comment from Aaron Cowan and I wanted to talk about this real quick, Jason. With security, health screening issues for fans just getting into last week's game, and then Arizona reporting, what do they need to do to get fans to get out and fill Arizona Stadium? The first part of that was a debacle, Jason. People trying to get in the stadium on Saturday night. I was fortunate with my wife. We got in the stadium about an hour before kickoff because I like to watch them warm up. So we made it through fine. Then we saw the monster lines. Now, Dave Hickey has said that's on us. We're going to rectify it, and I we'll be watching, but I assume they're going to rectify those situations. A lot of it was slowing down with the metal detectors and everything. Hopefully they can get people through and figure that out. To get them to come back, though, Jason, it's really simple. You just got to win, and I don't mean you have to go 6-5. I don't mean that. Just win this game against NAU, and then, as you talked about the eye test, be competitive. Look competitive. You're not going to probably beat Oregon. Okay, we get that. But let's see, if you guys can make a little noise. Then you come home and pass the eye test. Look good. Be competitive. Win a couple of games. That's all you have to do.
Did you stay for the third quarter, and were you there at the end of the third quarter for those supposedly new traditions with the songs?
Nope.
What point did you leave the game?
Halftime.
Wow, you didn't even the third quarter.
I'm a proud season ticket holder of U of A football, and I was so disgusted, Jason. It took everything I had to stay in the stadium as long as I did.
And not a knock on anybody. Know Pat, it takes a lot to get him disgusted. Pat doesn't get disgusted easily.
I was really, really upset. I support this team. I'll be there the entire game this week. I promise. It was a bad taste in my mouth, and I saw how difficult it was getting in the stadium, and I just decided, you know what? I'll go home and watch the rest of this game on TV, which I did. I watched every second of it. I didn't miss a single snap. But what I'll say is, when you set everyone up and you say, I'm going to do these traditions, and this is what I want as a head coach, you have to remember, we sat through 70-7, Jason. We sat through 70-7. Then we go into that game against San Diego State, and 6 minutes into the game, it was 21-0. And you're going to tell me that I have to stay for the third quarter to sing a song that none of us know the words to? It's not even the song we all know. We know Bear Down. We know Bear Down, Arizona. That's what we sing. Traditions come after you start winning. Traditions don't come. Don't put the cart before the horse. Wins come, then traditions come from the winning.
Yeah,
that's the way it works.
So for those who don't know maybe what I'm referring to, women's basketball, Adia Barnes, they did start a new tradition at the end of the game where they bang the drum after a win. But it's like you said, at least that's after a win, and that's not getting the fans involved. That's just something the players do on the court. Right. Jedfish is trying to start a couple of traditions at the end of the third quarter where they sing the Red Blue song or whatever it is, the Hail Arizona song, and then also the Kenny Chesney song, Happy Does, or
maybe you do that after a win though. Maybe you do follow Adia Barnes' lead and you say, we're going to do this after. Everybody stick around, and that's what we're going to do right after a win.
Look, the one time I did feel for Fish a little bit was on the Monday news conference when he said, if anybody thought this was going to be easy, they got another thing coming to him. He does. To his credit, this is a monumental undertaking to try to turn this team around. And we've made some women's basketball comparisons. You can turn around a women's basketball program with one or two players, as they did. This is going to take a long job. Kevin Sumlin left an absolute mess here, just a total mess. He inherited a program that went to 5 bowl games in 6 years and put it in the toilet.
Yeah, and I have a lot of respect for Jedfish, and when I criticize things, you have to know it comes from a place where I do respect the heck out of him, and I understand the monumental task. I'm just more of a, stay focused on getting this team better. They've got some recruiting issues. I mean, how do you recruit when you have recruits in the stadium that see that San Diego State first half? So they've got to stay focused on this team, bringing in better talent, better players. And when they get that figured out, the traditions are going to come. And I promise you, I'll be there during these rough times, and I'll be there when things are going well. And I have faith that they will. It's going to take a while, Jason.
All right. If we don't have any more comments, I don't see the comments. So if we don't have any others, I'll say we'll leave it there.
We can save them for next week. I think it's a good point to wrap up. And just I think we both think they'll beat NAU. I think we both think that they'll have some fun. They'll probably look pretty good doing it. I hope that it can kind of finally be a first stepping stone to better things, because right now we haven't seen a stepping stone laid down yet. Right, just a quarter and a half looking good against BYU, and a touchdown drive or two against San Diego State. That's not enough. A win's what this team needs.
Yeah, well, hopefully they'll get it here and stop the longest losing streak in FBS right now at 14 games. They're a 23-point favorite, and the over-under is 52. So do the math a little bit, and Vegas is saying they're going to win 38-14, which is the same score they lost by to San Diego State. So
that's true.
That's what they're saying. All right. This has been the Huddle, brought to you by Desert Diamond Casino. Special thanks to our guest, Lance Briggs, who joined us for the first half of the Huddle. He's going to be broadcasting the game against NAU this Saturday when the Wildcats take on the Lumberjacks at Arizona Stadium. Pat Parris. For Pat, I'm Jason Barr. And thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back next week to talk about a win, hopefully, against NAU and how they're not going to lose 60-something nothing to Oregon the following week. But we'll cross that bridge then. All right, everybody. Thanks so much for tuning in, and we'll see you on the news here at KGUN 9 at 5, 6, and 10 tonight.